Okay, welcome back, y'all. This is going to be lecture 18, actually. So, this is going to be Guatemala. So, we just covered Honduras. Guatemala is much the same. They have incredibly weak institutions, except for the presidency, right, and probably the military. They have remarkably high levels of poverty and inequality. They have very low levels of literacy. They have high levels of corruption. And like many of the countries in this region, Honduras alike, they have extreme immigration, right? Massive percentages of their population have fled out of the country to the United States, to Mexico, to Costa Rica, and to other nations. Um, we'll go ahead and skip a lot of the historical background and jump into the 10 years of spring. So, Jacobo Arbenz, who was kind of a hero of this country, becomes president in 1950. He puts in a lot of sort of centrist or even sort of liberal democratic principles like free speech. He legalizes the Communist Party, even though he's not a member of it. He starts to redistribute some land to the peasants. He sets up social safety nets and welfare. Unfortunately, this pisses off some major players in the United States system, the Dulles brothers, who run the CIA, and President Eisenhower. And so they back the ouster of Jacobo Arbenz by the Guatemalan military. And so Arbenz is kicked out in 1960. And from basically 1960 to the mid 90s, for almost 40 years, there's civil war. There's a lot of violence. There's a lot of sort of paramilitary private death squads and military squads. More than 200,000 people out of a very small population. Um, there's remarkable repression and violence and human rights abuses by the state. And this basically makes Guatemala a complete pariah on the international scenes. Everyone is sanctioning them. No one will buy their products. No one will allow them to have their technology, etc. So they transition in 1996 back to civilian rule. You should know that more than half of the population is indigenous Mayan. Hmm. They also have a highly shifting political system. Again, they have these parties that pop up and die and pop up and die, and they're just basically based around personality rather than ideology, other than, say, the Communist Party. They have a huge patronage system, and they have pretty incredible levels of violence and assassinations against politicians, against politicians' families, against people who run government bureaus, against journalists, etc. So very, very, very high levels of violence in this area of the world. Um, the state has a 4-year presidential term with no re-election whatsoever, which makes it kind of very different from a lot of these Latin American states. It has a 2-round majority system. So again, if you don't win by majority in the first round, the top 2 vote getters go to the second round. It's got a unicameral Congress, like many of these central corridor nations. They used closed list PR, so you could only vote for a party. They pick. They have kind of an interesting deal. They pick 31 from a national list, from one giant district, and then they pick another 128 across the 22 different regions, basically, and from Guatemala City. Um, Congress elects the 13 justices, but they have very, very weak courts. Um, yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Most of these chapters are very sort of self-explanatory. We've already talked a lot about the sort of cultural and historical trends of the region. So thanks for being here. Have a great day.